So my experience watching Dune was very interesting. It did feel more like an experience and less like a structured story. I found the shots with the fog a bit weird, not because of the fog, but because of the acting. Um, I don't think the kid really bought into or conveyed properly. Like the lines weren't very good, so it didn't really give you the background information of the story. I think the fog should have been utilized better, like maybe a shot where it's like a close up of the mom's face with some fog in front of it to match all the visuals that come later. I think the hand scene, well, it was okay. I think it would have been nice to see a shot of the hand turning red before he removes it, and the shot of the mother just outside of the door. It just didn't feel right. Like they should have probably given the actress who plays the mother ballerina training, just because I know what she's supposed to be conveying. Otherwise, later in the movie, she does come off well. As you probably noticed in the trailers, the "with my life" thing, that scene did feel a bit off because, and it kind of worked, but like they should have set her and her husband up as this loving couple before they got to that scene. I don't know if it's supposed to be primarily the protagonist's perspective, but like, and why did they mention Paul seeing an ancestor doing stuff without showing that? Yeah, it does feel like it's missing like 4 or 5 minutes of content. I feel like if they had used the gimmick of the visions as a sort of a, if they had shown us a scene where he and Zendaya actually have a conversation, a loving conversation in the future to give us like something, some sort of end goal situation, that would have been nice. Also, fun fact, if you take Javier Bardem and Thanos and you shoot a scene right after Javier Bardem shows up, where Thanos is overseeing some students and Javier Bardem is waiting for his ship to be readied. You just have Javier Bardem just comment on Thanos training the youth and convey the really, really, really important information about this movie that is lacking. Fast cut, nothing. Slow cut, stab. Laser equals nuke. That sort of thing. Have a little bit of an ego exchange between them. Have like Javier Bardem imply that someday the descendants of Paul will like end up being spoiled rich kids, and like mention the robot wars from 10,000 years ago, like maybe make it a plot point that everyone's afraid that these spoiled rich people on top of everyone's on top of the world are sooner or later gonna do the stupid thing and remake a thinking machine. Like Thanos could say the clan would never break the covenant, blah blah blah. Oh no, this generation might not, but 3 generations, 6 generations, 18 generations, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. When you're all emperors, yeah, yeah, that would have made, yeah, the shields kind of need a little bit more work. I felt like Paul's mom not having a scene in the gardens was weird because the gardens are like an epic novelty thing that should be relatively easy to create. Like make cast a few glass things and show off the opulence of the indoor stuff. Maybe use the gardens to include a scene where Paul's parents are actually romancing each other or whatever, which sets up the Paul's having a kid sister in the later half of the book. I think that It would have been better to hire a more mature actor and then digitally de-age him. My personal fan favorite would be Brand Ward, the actor who played Brand Ward in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the writing team on that could really convey a good Dune story if they had the chance. I think Duncan Idaho was nice. I think it would have been better if it was Riddick, if Riddick was cast as him. Um, the mom should have been a dancer to convey the weird motion things. I think the trial situation, if any of you know the books, the trial situation where a certain someone loses his eyes and just baffles people by knowing what's what. Like that situation would be so much better if it was handled by the Agents of Shield team. I think the Dune saga should be a TV show, frankly, like a high budget TV show, like The Foundation. The Foundation kind of looks similar to this, but it's more colorful. I did find the outfits in this a bit weird. Um, Not that black outfits don't make sense because they'll be, if they ever get into battle, they'll be going around at night. But it would have made a little bit more sense if the outfits were colored like the desert or had a chameleon circuit that changed their surface to fit the desert. I think that would have been an appropriate addition. Um, I like the Hunter Seekers. I think a better option when it comes to the weaponry would be if they had focused more on stabbing weapons like a saber. Now, sabers are not to be confused with those swords that used in the Pierce Brosnan versus crazy North Korean dude who turns himself into a British dude movie. But there was this 2000s Bond movie where Pierce Brosnan gets into a sword fight, and a lot of people think those are sabers. Those are not sabers. Sabers are long, thin, heavy things that like just stab and just stab because they are still wearing armor. Like, I think they should have worn some amount of gambesons and made sabers that are designed to drill past the armor. Yeah, basically just like the Hunter Seekers. What I found interesting is when Paul's dad was attacked by a Hunter Seeker, the one thing that came to mind was pick up the sword from the body and smack it. A few scenes later, Aquaman does that. And I was like, Paul's dad is being sloppy. And Paul's dad was being sloppy. Still like him, still, it was fine. I found the scene nice. I just think that if you have enough detail to do that scene, enough sense of detail to do that scene, why not make a sword that drills through the enemy armor? It would have made more sense. I also found it weird that no one used any staff weapons, because if you're going to attack someone en masse and you're prevented from using bullets, like the number one thing on your mind should be shields and staff weapons. Like, come on, this is weird. Yeah, ranged weapons would have made more sense. Although I suppose because of the speed difference, speed suppression, you can't have too much of a ranged weapon, which at the same time it does speak to in favor of sabers because they're stabbing weapons. Yeah, I'm thinking way too hard about things they could have done. It was a good movie, it just needed a little bit more of a spark and a little bit more effort to make it work properly. You know? Some additional colors would have also been nice in some places. I don't know if the spit situation was originally Duncan Idaho's, but it did work well in this adaptation. I liked how the spit situation worked in the original, in my mind, the original, the 2000s miniseries, because, you know, Picard one was looked stupid. I fucking love the casting of the evil Duke. The twist with the evil Duke at the end. In the later other movies, the twist would I find the casting very appropriate because it's gonna show what someone from that bloodline knowing what they're doing would look like, and to juxtapose it, like, I found it very interesting. um I did find Zendaya's mom's death a bit weird. I think it would have been nicer if it would have been nice if Paul had a. I think in the sequel, Paul should tell Zendaya her mom's dead. I don't think her mom should have been her mom because I was confused. I thought that character was a dude, and I was correct, but it didn't really affect me. It didn't really distract me from the story. It worked. It's just that it should have probably been a dude. You know, it if it was a dude, it would give the option of having more women in the sequel, but I don't get it. I don't get it. I kind of get it because Hollywood, but if you're gonna ignore diversity cycles and make a decent adaptation, why not make a decent adaptation after ignoring diversity cycles? You know? Either way, the actress was fine. It was okay. I think the end situation, though, it should have been a shield. She should have turned on a personal shield in the desert so that when the bad guys attacked her, they failed at first. She turns around, then they succeed. No, they succeed. She falls down, clicks, zzz, and the worm takes them. It probably should have been the personal shield situation and not a thumping thing, because that way you're showing off what you've set up. Yeah, it is quite an interesting experience. Could have been a little bit better, especially with this director. I think most of the money went to the cast, and despite most of the money going to the cast, he managed to make a very good movie. I also think that there's this exchange between Paul and Duncan, Idaho, where it feels like we're looking at a patched together scene or a reshot scene, because it feels like someone is trying to hide the fact that there's extras in the scenes and they shot around it. I don't know if that's true or that's just some weird camera framing situation, but it did feel like that. Just saying. I think Duncan Idaho and Paul should have had a scene like the siege on King's Landing when Tyrion Lannister was defending. There's a scene right before a situation where he talks to some people and they have a song and blah blah blah. That sort of scene before Duncan Idaho takes off would have added a little bit more weight to his death. Yeah, that's about it for me. I hope you enjoyed my spoilerific review attempt.